Hey guys, what's going on? Happy Friday. We finished another week of remote learning. We finished our first week of June, which officially means that we are getting close to the end of school. I think we have about 20 days left. So our time together is coming to an end, so let's make the best of it. We're going to be talking about Woods Runner today. And in talking about Woods Runner, we're going to be working on chapters 4 through 6 yet again. And you guys might be saying, we already read chapter 4. Well, some of you might not have. And the other thing is, when I asked you guys to show up to our live meeting having read chapter 4, you guys still didn't show up having read it. So it's going to be what I model with today. It's going to be from chapter 4. And then you guys are going to be responsible for reading chapters 5 and 6. And you guys missed it in this cut of the video. But I had 4 and 5 and I made a mistake and I had to fix it in the middle of the video. Thankfully, that video was cut short and interrupted by a phone call that I had to ignore. So it's now unseen footage. However, we are still talking about character today. So character is the mental and moral qualities that are unique to an individual. So mental talks about what's going on in your head, your thoughts, what you're thinking when something happens, and all of that. Your moral qualities is kind of what you feel inside of you and what you believe is right, okay? And, certain people might think that one thing is the right way to handle business and someone else might not agree with them. And again, it comes down to perspective, okay? But again, character is based solely on the individual, okay? Now, it doesn't mean that people can't share character traits. I mean, there's more than one honest person in our class, obviously. But there are some that are different from somebody else that make everyone unique. And some of those we talked about were loyal, honest, brave and courageous, thoughtful, and intelligent, okay? What happens with that is we are going to be seeing how what Samuel does contributes to his character traits moving forward, okay? Like, it's going to tell us what kind of person Samuel is. I totally lost track of where I was there for a second. It's like my brain fell out on the floor, but I think I picked it up in enough time to make a coherent sentence. And basically, we're looking at what Samuel does in the text to figure out his character traits. Done. Now, you guys are going to be receiving handout 24A today, and in order to complete 24A, you have to read chapters 5 and 6. Because if you don't read chapters 5 and 6, you're not going to understand what his thoughts and actions were, you're not going to find out what kind of person he is, and so on and so forth. Now, the chart is broken into Samuel's thoughts. This shows that Samuel is blank because, and if you look up here, I have character trait, okay? This shows that Samuel is intelligent because, and you need to explain, yes, explain, don't just write the character trait and move on, actually write why that makes him that way. And I'm going to model that for you guys now. So, it says, and on the chart there's the page column. When they give you the specific pages they want you to look at, where you are going to find thoughts and actions of Samuel, and then you have to figure out what they mean, okay? So for me, the first one there is on page 29. So I will go to page 29, and I will quickly just kind of scan it for myself. I'll read it aloud to you guys, and I'll be looking for Samuel's thoughts as I read, okay? But they were people, friends, families he had known. A frantic need took him. The thought that they were the next body might be the one he dreaded most to find, and he ran from one to another, trying to identify them in the failing light. Most had been mutilated so badly it was hard to tell who they had once been. Overton lay in his cabin, his shirt sleeves still not down on his wrists, chest and stomach filled with arrows, his scalp gone to his face so his face drooped without the top skin to hold it up. Samuel ran from body to body in the gathering twilight until at last there were no more bodies to find. No matter how fast he ran, how wide he ran, he did not find his parents. Along with 6 or 7 others, They had not been killed, or at least not been killed here. They had been taken away. They had not been killed. He clung to that thought. They had not been killed. He stood, his breathing ragged, sobbing softly. Twice he had thrown up, and the smell and taste mixed with the tears and frustration and grief for his friends, and rage for those for what had been done to them. He knew that if he lived to be 100, he would never lose the taste, the smell, or the images of what he'd seen, the madness of what men can do to other men in savage rage. Dark caught him now. He had circled through the settlement and was back in his own cabin, or where it had been. There was nothing left that would furnish light. All the candles had melted. So there's a lot that we see here about Samuel, and I apologize for not looking up, but that's a very intense section of text to read. And if you've read this already, it's not your first experience, but it's still kind of just like, oh my God, all this happened. Now, what is Samuel thinking here? Okay, he's thinking about all of the other people and how he can't recognize them, but that's not going to tell us anything about him. Okay, what's going to tell us about him is this part. He stood, his breathing ragged, sobbing softly. Twice he had thrown up, and the smell and the taste mixed with tears of frustration and grief for his friends, and rage for what had been done to them. He knew that if he lived to be 100, he would never lose the taste, the smell, or the images of what he had seen. So he's thinking, Samuel thinks about what has been done to his settlement and the people he knew. And then in quotes, he will never forget. Okay? So now, I don't want you guys to be like, oh, he's thoughtful, because he has thoughts. Of course he's thoughtful. He's thinking about all this bad stuff that just happened. So, thought I was going to sneeze. Would have been another first for a live video, but I did not. We survived. Now, what does this show about Samuel? Well, if you're thinking of how sad you are and how you're never going to forget something, okay, this shows that Samuel is compassionate. It shows that Samuel is compassionate. And when you're compassionate, you feel for people, you understand what they've gone through, and you are in touch with what those people mean to you. And so this is a perfect example of Samuel being compassionate, and eventually how he goes on to bury all the bodies and then pray over all of the graves that he's made definitely shows that he's compassionate, because he cares so much for the people of his settlement. Okay? So this is how you take Samuel's thoughts and turn it into what it shows us about that character. Okay? You guys have the weekend for chapters 5 and 6 and for this chart, and maybe I'll throw a Rax response in there based on how the ones are that I grade either today or tomorrow. I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. try to, if you can, get outside, even if it's just in your backyard, run around, get some fresh air. All those things are so important for you. I know that I will be out in the backyard with Ellen, who has a ball pit now, and we'll be hanging out and throwing the balls up in the air and just hanging out in our backyard. So if you guys do that, it might be good for your health. Okay. Again, I miss you guys. Hope you guys have a good weekend, and we're 1 week closer to the end of school. And I will see you guys at 1 o'clock for our live today. And if you're watching this after 1 o'clock, I will see you hopefully on Monday at 1:30 for our live. All right, see you later.